1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi YouTubers, thought I'd do a video about fast tempos because the video I made with me playing Cherokee at 400 BPM seems to have become very popular in the last few weeks, which I'm really grateful for, and thanks for that. It's kind of weird because I uploaded that video like a year ago, and it's kind of gone crazy in the last few weeks. And now I'm sort of inundated with a lot of questions and very positive feedback, and that's all really great. There's a lot of questions about, you know, how do you practice this, and wow, it seems impossible. Well, it's not impossible, and you know, I thought I'd just share some tips to how you can work on it. So I sort of break it down into two main categories, really. I mean, before I get into those, it's kind of a given that you have a command over the instrument and things like that, and you know where to put your fingers or your hands. I'm not going to get into that kind of technique stuff because I feel like that's kind of goes without saying, really. The stuff I want to talk about is probably stuff maybe people haven't really considered that much, but it can really help. And those two things are, well, there's more than two really, but there's two main things. One is like hearing, the ability to actually hear that tempo. And that's actually really hard to hear it. And if you can't hear it, then you're not going to be able to play it. So one needs to get used to how it sounds. Seems kind of obvious, but you know, there you go. And the other thing is breathing and staying relaxed. I guess they are two things, but they are connected to each other because there's other things you can do that are to do with being relaxed, but breathing is a huge part of it. Making sure that you breathe when you try these tempos. So I guess I'll start with the hearing thing. Now right there at the beginning of this video I was playing in 400, but on a blues in F. So I'm going to demonstrate everything today with a blues in F, because hopefully that's something everybody's familiar with. Now I'm going to slow the tempo down a lot to like 250, which is much slower than 400 obviously, but it's still kind of a bright tempo. And maybe some people out there haven't really practiced walking with the metronome on 2 and 4. So that's probably a good place to start, and it might even be too fast for some people. So here's 250. Well, it's actually 125 because you're only hearing 2 to a bar, but it's 2 and 4. Now, if that's too hard to hear as 2 and 4, like I think a lot of people might struggle hearing this as 2 and 4, and their ear might be immediately drawn to hearing that as 1 and 3. So that's something you do have to get used to if you want to build this stuff up. Now you might be asking now, why not just practice the whole thing on 1-3? Why not play 400 on 1 and 3? Well, you can obviously, and that will definitely you'll also do the technical work and all that stuff. The problem is, on a practical level, if you're gonna play these tempos eventually on gigs and stuff, and you're playing with drummers, they will be playing the hi-hat on 2 and 4, and in jazz, in swing, that's the clave basically, is 2 and 4. So if you can't hear that on 2 and 4, you're gonna have a problem, and you're probably gonna turn the beat around, and that's not good. So it's really worth practicing it on 2 and 4, just to make sure that you're really strong on it. So yeah, I'll start again with this. Now, if you're thinking of that as a 1 and 3, that high one, that one, think of that as a 4. So 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. You know what I mean? That's a good place to maybe try and trick your brain. You might be feeling it as a 1, but say the word 4, and then just keep counting, and then try and switch the emphasis so that you start feeling the 1 that you're actually saying as a 1. 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2. Here's the blues. Again, but I'll try and breathe and exaggerate the breathing. 2 1 2 3 4. So that's kind of like 2 things you're dealing with right there, which is hearing the 2 and the 4 and the breathing. Now you almost have to exaggerate that breathing thing and really take deep breaths and then breathe out. You might be wondering why I'm saying that. It's particularly noticeable at the faster tempos, and the reason for that is the impulse a lot of people have, most people I think, when it's really fast, the impulse actually is to hold your breath. I don't know why, but a lot of people just do that. So as soon as you're playing fast, it's like 1 2 1 2 3, and you're holding your breath, and it's actually, you're then depriving your muscles of the oxygen you need to be able to have fluidity of movement. It's the one thing you actually shouldn't do. So that's why I recommend exaggerating the breath. And you need to do that to stay relaxed at that speed. Now the other thing, and this will become more apparent the faster we get, is to not play too hard. So with these tempos, you can't play too loud or hard, because if you play loud as you might on a medium tempo, where you can really like dig into the string like this, where you're using your whole arm weight and stuff like that, that's not really possible at super fast. I mean, I guess it kind of is. I prefer to use 2 fingers actually at that speed, like, because I get more power, more volume. But you have to play soft. Yeah, so like I said just a second ago, if you sink too much weight into the string, it's not going to help you. You're going to start dragging if you do that at a faster tempo. So with the thing of holding your breath, getting your muscles tight, and then playing too hard, it's really not sustainable. So you really need to be thinking, breathing deeply and playing soft. And with the fast tempos, it's much more about forward motion rather than getting bogged down with which notes you're playing. In fact, I'd say try not to think so much about the notes, more about the time. If you had to choose one, what's more important, notes or time? Time always kind of trumps note choice, in my opinion. But yeah, so it's kind of always about the next note, thinking forward. So I mean, I'm not to say that note choice isn't important. Of course it is, and that's why you kind of need to start practicing these things slower, because there's a lot of multitasking. There's a lot of things to think about, and if you're trying to play fast, having not done that work slower, the brain's just going to be confused, and it's going to sort of cross circuit. Is that the right term? I don't know, but it's going to malfunction. So yeah, so I'll then try and demonstrate that again at 250, bearing in mind all the things I've said. Breathing, not playing too hard. And also, one other thing, at 250 normally I'd actually play with one finger as opposed to two with the right hand. I'd be more like this, and really use my upper arm, and the weight in my upper arm, and really let that kind of sink into the string. But here, to demonstrate the technique I'll use at 400, I'm going to demonstrate this at 250 with the two finger technique, which is more this. Just kind of alternating fingers. I think when I go down, I probably rake. It's not something I'm super thinking about, to be honest. I'd probably do that quite a bit. But in general, I'm doing this. Okay, let's try that at 250. 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So that's basically it, really. They're all the things you need to think about. Playing at 400, it's the same things happening. Don't play too hard. Always, of course, you have to hear the 2 and the 4 and breathe, really. And then it's just a case of building up the speed, you know. So I'll now speed it up to like 300, which is a fast tempo. It's not medium up like 250. And here we'll probably notice where some of these things I was talking about a second ago like really pay off. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it's the same thing, but you know, keeping all those things in mind. So um, yeah, let's build it up even more. So let's go 350, which is 175 at halftime. Now the metronome's on 175. 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Etc. etc. So, I mean, there's some other things to think about as well, which is, you know, as the tempo gets really fast, you know, another thing that can also help mentally, just not kind of be thinking, oh, what notes do I need to play and get bogged down in the harmonic thing. You can sort of almost think of it as half time. The faster it gets, you can kind of think as if it's half time, and that instead of playing quarter notes, you could sort of imagine that you're almost playing eighth notes, and then you could think of that almost as like a 6-bar blues with a fast kind of eighth note subdivision. It doesn't really make sense, but kind of makes sense if you know what I mean. So rather than actually playing this. Maybe that's something that can help, I don't know. So yeah, now as we're almost there, I might as well just get to 400, which is 200 on the metronome. Just to prove that I'm not like faking it. There, 200. Because some people have said in comments like, yeah, he's speeding it up. He's faking it, you know. I don't know why you might think that, but I'm flattered anyway. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. There's other little things that can help as well with that. It's like I probably play more on the D and G strings at that speed because they're slightly less tension. And they're not as thick. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. It's actually good to just practice it like without, like as an exercise. You can try, like, for example, just to limit yourself, like don't play with the G string. You could limit yourself just to the middle 2 strings. For example, you could even try the bottom 2. That's hard, but it kind of helps somehow discipline yourself, and also, and this is where hearing the 2 and 4 is like crucial. If you can hear it, then you don't have to sort of be so physical with your body, and you could play. You don't have to play 4 to a bar. You could play 2 to a bar or 1 to a bar. But to be able to do that, you have to hear the tempo all the time, and also you could just break up the time or alternate between quarter notes, half notes, whole notes. You know, because you don't have to walk the whole time. You know, you can give yourself a little breather, because in the real world you need stamina. You need to be able to play this tempo. If you're going to be playing it for 15 minutes, you know, you need to have ways of, you know, giving yourself a little breather while you're playing. I'll try and demonstrate that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, demonstration of that, but you get the idea. And sometimes I was actually playing on the offbeats, but on the 2 and 4, you know, like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's worth trying to do all that stuff as well, because it'll even just something like if you're playing super fast, play like the odd half note here and there, you know, and it really can help, and it can just, you know, take the pressure off, and give your muscles a little break. So that with the breathing, playing soft with a soft touch, that they should all be things that could really help. But again, it's about slowing it down. It's about finding your level where you feel comfortable, and maybe just speeding it up a tiny bit where it's a challenge for you, and then maybe bring it back down again. And just, it's that kind of thing where it's a bit like this, you know. Yeah, and then the other thing would be playing along with records. Once you've kind of done this work and you feel comfortable enough playing with records, you know, there's plenty of records where you can play these kinds of tempos. I'll put some links in the description for stuff that I practiced when I was studying, you know, 20 years ago. I used to work on this stuff, and I haven't really practiced it that much since then. And thankfully, I mean, that's kind of a good thing. If you get it together, there is some muscle memory, you know. I mean, sometimes if I haven't played these tempos for a really long time, I notice like, oh, this feels a bit uncomfortable. But I feel like I know how to kind of get comfortable with it quickly just by those things I've been talking about. But playing along with records, it's a fantastic way to practice it because, well, stamina, you need to, if you can get from the beginning of the song to the end, that's already great. But you've got to be more flexible. I mean, because, you know, with records, you're playing with real people, so it's probably not as metronomic as with a metronome. So some great ones are like A Blow-In Session by Johnny Griffin. It's a really great version of The Way You Look Tonight. Yeah, it's up there. Maybe not 400, but maybe 350, but it still feels quick. It's like a lot of Miles stuff from the 60s, you know, like, well, the Four and More, the concert, you know, the 64 concert. There's a lot of quick tempos there, and everything kind of gets faster, but it's different. I mean, it's light, like Walking in particular. It's really fast, but it's light, you know, and it doesn't feel super hard. It doesn't feel heavy. There's another one I used to practice. It's called Black Pearls. It's a Coltrane record. There's a really fast version of Lover Come Back to Me, and that's interesting because it's like the rhythm section, you hear that they're not comfortable, and the soloists as well, actually, and they're all kind of struggling, and it just gets faster and faster, and it's not comfortable to play along with. But I think that's a good thing and worth practicing, because, you know, you've got to kind of figure it out, you know, because in real situations there might be times where you've just kind of got to figure it out on the bandstand. And it's just about listening and adapting and being flexible, which is, you know, one of the most important attributes to have as an improvising musician.